Hello everybody and welcome to Attaché, the show that gets you in, out, and around some of the world's greatest cities. My name's Alex Hunter and I'll be your Sherpa on this international adventure. And today we're in the city so good they named it twice, New York, New York. So before we get started, I need to issue a small disclaimer. New York City is huge. I mean, not just geographically, but experientially. And for us to try and cram the essence of one of the most iconic cities on earth into a single episode and try and do it justice, it's just impossible. So as much as it seems like heresy to admit Brooklyn, Williamsburg, the Bronx, Queens, all of the other boroughs that are just as much a part of New York as any other, we're gonna focus this show just on Manhattan. Please don't hate me, but I have good news. To make up for it, we're gonna dedicate an entire show to the greater New York City area in season 3. So put down the pitchforks, people. New York is gonna get the love it deserves.
Let's go!
New York City is served by 3 major airports, and all 3 of them rank the worst in North America for just about everything. Waiting times, lost luggage, delays, you name it. But there's something almost endearing in the awfulness of JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia. Instead of raw hatred, it's more of a, oh you, kind of feeling. All 3 airports are slated for major redevelopment in the next decade, but until then, oh you. Since you could be coming into any of those 3 airports, we're going to quickly tell you how to get into town from each of them. Despite being quite a long way out of town, taxis are actually a great option from JFK because there's a fixed fee. $52.50 plus tip. Do not forget to tip. Now you're going to have to pay bridge or tunnel tolls as well. Don't forget, Manhattan is an island. I'm also a big fan of the Airporter, which is a bus service, flat fee $17 each way, free Wi-Fi, and it drops you off at Penn Station, right in the middle of Manhattan.
LaGuardia. Primarily, but not exclusively, the home of domestic flights, LaGuardia is the closest airport to Manhattan. Taxis don't have a fixed fare from the airport, but it shouldn't cost you more than $30 plus tolls and tip. The New York City Airporter bus also has a service from LaGuardia to Grand Central, and it's just $12 each way. It will take you between 40 and 60 minutes to get into Manhattan, depending on traffic.
While technically in New Jersey, Newark Airport is actually really convenient if you're staying anywhere in Chelsea, Tribeca, Greenwich Village, Soho, anywhere like that. And there's a direct train link from just outside of the airport to right here in Penn Station, which is really convenient. Only takes 30 minutes and costs $12.50.
Let's go!
Getting around New York is damn good fun. It takes some confidence, some know-how, and sometimes a little bit of luck, but you have a ton of options available to you. The New York subway system doesn't get nearly enough love from tourists. In the 70s and early 80s, it had a well-earned reputation as being dirty and dangerous, but those days are long gone. In my opinion, the subway is the best way to get around New York, no questions asked. You avoid the city's notoriously bad traffic, it runs 24 hours a day almost in all circumstances, and it's really cost-effective. At first glance, the New York subway system can seem intimidating. With its express trains and normal trains and sometimes confusing nomenclature for lines, I can see why tourists avoid it, but don't. Spend some time with the map, plot your route on Google Maps or City Mapper, ask one of the customer service reps in a station, and before you know it, you will be a subway expert too. But just in case, a few things to remember. As I said, some lines are express, meaning they skip stations along the way to provide a faster service. But wherever there is an express service, there's also a standard service, which will stop at every stop along the way. Local and express lines often use different tracks altogether, so make sure you're standing on the right platform for the train that you want to catch. So one quick thing to note about the New York subway system is you may have found the right subway station, but double check the sign over the entrance to make sure that you have the right line. So for example, this is 34th Street Penn Station, but this entrance right behind me is only for lines 1, 2, and 3. If you want the other lines, the entrance could be across the street or at least a block away in this instance. So have a quick look, otherwise you're going to be up and down those stairs all day like we were several times yesterday, embarrassingly. New York's stored value transit system is the Metro card. You can use it on buses and the subway, and just to be absolutely clear, you have to have a Metro card to get on the subway. There's no other way to do it. And you can get one in any subway station, at the vending machines, at a ticket booth. Also, you can get them in newsstands and a lot of convenience stores. Just look for the Metro card sign in the window of the store. There are a few different types of Metro cards. Single-use cards are $2.75 and are good for one use only. You don't get free transfers with them, and they expire 2 hours after you've bought them. Pay-per-ride cards are stored value and come in values between $4.50 and $80. Each time you ride the subway or bus, $2.50 is decremented from it. You can top them up at any of the subway station or train station vending machines. Metro card.
Take a walk on the wild side.
The quintessential New York taxi, instantly recognizable. The entire city swarms with them, so they're never that hard to find. So I want to give you a few tips for taking a taxi in New York City. A couple of things to remember when taking taxis in New York. When you're telling the driver where you want to go, don't even bother mentioning the name of the place or even the address. Things change so quickly here. So unless you're going to some landmark destination like the Empire State Building, the best way to reference your destination is by the intersection, the street and avenue where your destination is. So for example, if I want to get back to my hotel, the outstanding Cambria in Chelsea, instead of saying the address of the hotel, I would say, please driver, take me to West 28th between 7th and Avenue of the Americas. That way the driver knows the block, the specific block that I need to go to on an otherwise very, very long street. New York City is one of Uber's flagship cities, so there are cars everywhere. Prices are usually comparable to, if not cheaper than taxis, but even Uber hasn't figured out how to crack New York City's traffic, so you still have that to contend with. Manhattan is a very walkable city, even when the weather is lousy like it is today. It's almost entirely flat, and the grid system gives you a great indicator of distance. There are about 20 blocks in a mile when you're walking along the avenues. That's north to south. Average person can walk about a block a minute or 60 blocks in an hour, so about 3 miles an hour. But note, when you're walking along the avenues east to west, the blocks are generally a lot longer, so that rule does not apply. But the great thing about walking in New York City is the little gems that you'll discover along the way. As the avenues take you through the different neighborhoods, New York life unfolds before you.
Hey, Apollo, you should have seen him go, go, go. They said, hey, sugar.
The diners and dive bars and delis that define New York are never going to be the ones you find in a guidebook or a TV show, not even this one. You have to let serendipity take you by the hand and lead you on a New York adventure. So wrap up warm, be careful when crossing the street, and just let New York City do its thing. So not as perhaps exciting as a Mumbai street crossing, you do need to keep your wits about you when you're crossing the street in New York City. Mainly because in America, and Europeans often forget this, cars are allowed to turn right on a red light. And if you're not watching where they're going or where you're going, you're gonna get knocked on your ass. It's really easy to be drawn to the flickering lights of somewhere like Times Square like a depressing touristy moth. But New York shines brightest when you step away from the glitz and glamour, explore the side streets, alleyways, and backways that make this city so great. So when you leave your hotel, instead of automatically gravitating towards where everybody else is going, go in the opposite direction. Take a walk into a diner or a deli or a bagel shop that has people that look like they've been there their whole life. They're gonna be so full of stories about this awesome city that you're never gonna wanna leave.
Take a walk on the wild side.
This is a city that loves its food, almost to the point of obsession. Some of the best restaurants in the world are here. Per se, Le Bernardin are often mentioned among the best in the world. But it's also home to fusion foods, experimental, and just plain cool spots like Danny Bowen's Mission Chinese, and basically everything that David Chang does. But this is a city where trends change quickly, and the hot restaurant du jour could be a distant memory in just a few weeks. So if this is your first time to New York, my advice, stick to the classics. New York Culinary Fare has its staples, and they should be respected and revered. And we're gonna start with the granddaddy of them all, pizza. We're here with Scott Wiener from Scott's Pizza Tours to give us an education on the best pizza in New York. I am foaming at the mouth. almost literally, to do this.
I'm always, when I'm this close to a pizzeria, I like start shaking.
All right, let's do it.
You got an upside down coming out anytime, like a new one? If there's a fresh one coming out, just like shoot a flare in the air or like call my cell phone. I'm just kidding, I'll be right over there. Oh baby, this is what I'm talking about.
So we're at New York Pizza Suprema on 8th. Why here?
You know what? We're right across the street from Penn Station on Madison Square Garden. Totally touristy spot. You would never find any good food over here. But this place has been here since 1964. It's like a holdout, the best food in the area, and it's the most typical. I took it here because this is like typical New York slice shop, but not in the Village, not downtown in Little Italy. It's like in a spot that's had it since the mid-60s, and these days you would never expect to find anything good here.
Everybody has heard about New York pizza. It's a thing. But what is New York pizza? Why is it so unique? Why is it the best? Is it the best? Is that a dangerous question to ask a New Yorker?
I mean, well, look, a New Yorker's always going to say it's the best, but I'm technically from New Jersey. So I'll say that the thing of New York style, but what makes it what it is, specifically this type of New York style, because that phrase New York style means a bunch of things. But the New York slice is this. Like when most people think of New York style pizza, they think of like slice hanging off the edge of a paper plate, you know, with a little shininess on top of it. And this is the kind of pizza that's real typical in New York because it's easy to eat when you're on the go.
Right. So we've got just the cheese slices. Why? That's pretty basic.
Classy, elegance. I mean, and this is not a topping town. It's not a kind of place where you order like 16 toppings on a pizza. Pizza means this. Everything else is something additional. Here in New York, it's about crust, sauce, and cheese. The holy trinity, the basics.
The holy trinity, okay. And so the litmus test for any good pizza place is the cheese slice.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I can't stand it any longer. I have to get in here.
Just enough crunch, yet it relents to the bite. It does not shatter. It folds and only cracks at the last inch to an inch and a half. Awesome.
Wow. Yes.
It's important that I keep up to date in the pizza world by reading magazines like Pizza Today magazine.
Who knew there was such a thing?
It's real.
So what is the audience?
Pizzerias. It's a trade magazine, dude. Look at this. It's a whole article about authentic New York pizza in Corpus Christi.
And after getting our pizza education, we went out in search of another New York staple, the beloved bagel.
There are few foods more quintessentially New York than a bagel with a smear. I actually believe the correct pronunciation is schmear of cream cheese. Now, there are bagel places all over New York, and they vary in quality, but generally, they're going to be way better than anything you'll get outside of the city. We're at Brooklyn Bagel and Coffee in Chelsea, and I am about to smear this all over my face, and I'll eat it at the same time. New York City is the most expensive city in America. You probably figured that out when you booked your hotel room. Ugh. But not everything. I said there's a man in the bin behind you. Oh, he's gone now. Okay. Not everything here is painfully expensive. In fact, consumer goods and food are very affordable if you're not standing where I'm standing. One can make an argument that New York is the fashion capital of the United States, if not the entire world. I can't come here, look at all this, without adorning myself in the finest silk robes or the latest in velour jumpsuits. Yes, that's right, I'm a fashionista. God damn it, there's a hole in my jeans. That's embarrassing. Anyway, New York really does have great shopping, and things are almost always cheaper here than outside of the US due to low sales tax and a bunch of other reasons, so be prepared for some hefty credit card bills. As we mentioned in other US episodes, ATMs here charge you a fee just for the privilege of using them. Now that's on top of any fee that your bank back home is going to charge for a foreign transaction. So that's all the more reason to get a bank account that doesn't charge you for overseas transactions. So how expensive is New York? Let's do the rundown.
Yeah, a pint of beer will cost you around $7.
A cup of coffee will cost you around $2.50. And for the most reliable indicator of a nation's cost, the good old Big Mac, you're gonna pay about $4.80. Tipping. I know I always go on about this when we're in American cities, but it is a uniquely American quirk. I think it's especially important to talk about here in New York City, where commercial and residential rents are so high. Now, I've ranted about this in previous episodes, so I'm gonna try and keep my cool here. But the bottom line is this: tip. Always. At least 15%. There is almost no reason to not tip. If you think tipping is dumb and you've got a better way for waitstaff to be compensated, well, that's super duper. But until your legislation is enacted in the year 2047, tip. You're not tipping because you think it's dumb, or tipping with a Bible quote, or tipping with something that's not money. This is a jerk move. You're screwing over somebody who works hard for a living. So be cool and tip. As we wrap up this episode, it feels like we've barely even scratched the surface of this most famous of cities, but I hope at the very least we've equipped you with the know-how to make the most of your time here. Around every corner, New York offers you something new, something interesting, something delicious, something exciting. It's a city that deserves to be explored and rewards the curious visitor. I've been here dozens of times, but I still have more wow moments here than in any other city I've ever visited, and I know you will too. And that, my friends, is the Attaché Guide to New York City. As I said, we're going to be back here in season 3 to cover the rest of this amazing city. But for now, if you have any tips or tricks that you think every visitor to New York needs to know, then leave them in the comments section below. And while you're there, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, because we have a lot of great cities coming up. And finally, if you think that we should come to your city in season 3, then let us know in the comments on Twitter or on Facebook. We are excited to explore the rest of this world with you.